Thank you to Surf Prep and our patrons for sponsoring this episode. As always, I'll give a shout out to all of our top tier patrons at the end of the episode. If you want to be part of the Maker Lounge podcast community, head over to patreon.com/Maker Lounge podcast. The episodes drop on YouTube early on Thursdays, or even earlier for Patreon members on Wednesdays. Welcome to the lounge. I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast, where every Friday we have a rotating group of makers hanging out and talking shop with each other. What this guy makes with dyed skateboard veneers would make you think he is hardcore skater, but don't be fooled. I haven't seen him do an ollie or a kickflip. From 3D topographic, I can't say the word, carvings to epoxy, inlay, French cleat wall organization, today's guest has some incredible builds that definitely inspire. He doesn't have to go far to start building because he's clearly making at home. Steve Moseley with Making at Home is here. How do you say that?
Topographic?
I should have just said topo carvings.
There you go. That's a good
I
way
have
to put it.
I have no clue how to say carvings.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one if you're not used to saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. I did practice, and I got it right in practice. I should have recorded the practice session.
There you go. Yeah, that one, that's a word not a lot of people are used to saying or comes up a lot in conversation, really.
Yeah, I think because I'm thinking Topo Chico. So I'm saying topographic, but it's topographic.
Probably either way.
Right?
I think people say it either way, really.
Before we get to the episode today, I want to thank our sponsor, Surf Prep Sanding. Whether you're looking for the highest quality of sanders, dust extractors, or abrasives, Surf Prep has what you need to take your project to the next level. I've been using Surf Prep for a couple of years now and know firsthand the quality of their products. The amazing family who stands behind their brand is by far the best in the industry. Use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. What is a topo carving?
Really, I think most people think of it as a 3D carving that shows the relief of the ground in that area. So, it's where I'm at in Iowa. A topographic carving of Iowa is not that interesting unless you get really close. Yeah, you got to get really close so you can see like the little hills that are here. But, for most people, it's a mountain scene or, a mountain range or something like that. That something with the lake is always helpful to add a little color and a little spice.
Right. Some epoxy.
Yeah.
Lay some epoxy in there. Yeah. So Making at Home is the brand, is the name. So tell me a little bit about how that got started and how your business, your side hustle got started. Yeah.
So as crazy as it sounds, I've been on YouTube since 2008 and that's,
OG.
Yeah, a long time ago. But, I just really haven't done a lot with it. But one of the original reasons I got on there was to post a video of the marble track I have around my youngest son's room. And, he absolutely everybody loves it when they see it and watch it run. But, you can't really invite everybody over to the house to check it out. So I thought this is a good way to get it out there so people can check it out. And I really, in the long run, I thought this is going to be a great way for my kids to see the projects I've worked on for them, how I built them, because, at the time they were pretty young when that was made. And let's face it, our kids don't always get that excited about the hobbies we have or the things that we're into. And so someday when they really want to look back and see how things were made or what was done, they can do it now.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that project. Have you ever done anything like that before, or what inspired that project?
There's a few marble track artists, or a lot of people call them rolling ball sculptures, RBSs, kinetic sculptures, and there's a couple. There's a guy, and I can't think of his name offhand. He's from Fergus Falls, Minnesota, who goes around to some of the very high end art shows, and Cherry Creek Arts Festival in Colorado is where I first saw his work. And I was just blown away by it. And his stuff was all metal, stainless steel, a lot of metalwork. And I just was never that much into metalwork. And I thought, I bet I could make that out of wood. you know, because I can work with wood fairly easy, and it, you know, if you mess it up, you can just make another piece. So so that's
get the board stretcher.
Yes, exactly. Hydrostatic wood bender. And so I just started drawing out some plans like engineers do, and trying to figure out a way to get a marble track all the way around my son's room with a couple different lifting devices. And then the hard part was talking my wife into letting me put that on the wall, and she agreed to it. And it's been up there for probably 15 years now.
So you're an engineer by trade. And so when you did it, did you sketch the whole thing out, or were you winging it?
I sketched the whole thing out, and I spent way too much time doing that. I think it's what a lot of people do when they're working on a project that they just aren't sure about. Yeah, well, that compounds the problem. But I also wanted to make sure everything was mounted into studs. So I mapped out the studs in his room so there was minimal amount of holes in the wall, and the vibrations wouldn't work the screws out of the wall or anything like that. And drew it out in AutoCAD software. So I knew the exact slope and going across the wall where I'd end up at the end, going on to the next wall, and it all worked out really well.
Were you doing like the speed calculations and stuff? or was it, or like how nerdy were you when you were doing all that?
I wouldn't say too nerdy, but I drew the layout with AutoCAD, you know, across, you know, kind of the profile view. And then a lot of the parts were actually kind of plan view sketched in AutoCAD to do the layout. And then old school, before the CNC, I actually drafted those up, printed those out on paper. You'd use spray adhesive to put those onto pieces of 1/4-inch plywood, and then cut those shapes out on the bandsaw, smooth them out with the oscillating spindle sander, and then glued the rails on the side, which are 1/8-inch Baltic birch plywood. And so you don't need a CNC to do something that looks like it was all made with CNC type equipment.
Right. And then we'll fast forward in a little bit, but now you have the CNC, so we'll definitely get into the CNC portion of it.
Yeah.
How many hours would you say that you put into that?
You know, overall design and fabrication and mounting it on the wall, probably a couple hundred, probably 200 to 250. And that might be a little shy of what it actually was, but you know, there was a lot of time just sketching here and there that probably isn't going into that total.
Right.
But, it was a lot of time. It was way too much time. I think most people would say.
And how long did your son play with it? And then you're like, go play with that thing I spent all that time on.
You know, he hardly ever runs it anymore. Once in a while, a friend will come over and he'll, you know, get it rolling for him. And everybody just really enjoys watching the marbles go around on the track. And, you know, it's still, after all these years, it's still nice to see that it works. Right. And, you know, all that effort is still paying off.
And so has your wife ever said, we want to sell the house? And you said, oh, hell no.
Yeah, that's just it. It's going to be a hard one to move to another room. It's going to take some modifications to get it to fit in another room.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know an engineer that can help you out with that.
Right.
So you're doing all this all on the side. So that kind of kickstarted your whole making part. Was making at home the name at that point when you were doing that, or
it really wasn't?
Steve Moseley YouTube.
Yeah, just Steve Moseley, probably with a random number at the end of my name, and and I was just putting stuff on there, little clips here and there, and still today that marble track video I think is still the highest viewed video on my YouTube channel after 15 years. And you know, I haven't put a ton of time into YouTube. I do have quite a few videos on there with CNC work and some other things, and that marble track video still comes up from time to time, and a lot of people have gotten a lot of enjoyment out of it. So that's really nice to see.
Right. And then, so from that project, you started picking up more tools and building up your collection and doing other projects. Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of the people in this space, you know, on Instagram and YouTube, I think everybody just slowly adds to their arsenal of tools, slowly upgrading as they have the need or a project that comes up where they have to get a different machine to make that project happen. And, you know, I've been working on stuff for 20, 25 years now. And, my background, I grew up on a farm in Illinois, so we were always building things, and hog sheds and machine sheds and building grain bins and things like that. So, but I didn't have all my dad's tools, so I had to slowly build that up and still kind of modifying a few things here and there, and going to be upgrading the CNC here shortly as well.
Yeah. So you grew up on that farm in Illinois, and so when did you move to where you're at now?
Well, my wife and I got married, and we moved to Colorado in '98, and we were there until 2004, and now we live in central Iowa by Des Moines. We've been here since 2004, so next month we'll have been here 19 years in the same house.
Yeah, moved there for work.
Yes, and to get back near family. We're both from different sides of Iowa and right on the Iowa-Illinois border. And when we lived in Colorado, we really didn't have any family out there. So we spent all of our time with our two little boys traveling back to Iowa and Illinois to see family. And we decided we had to get back here and really make family priority.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just looking through, and you and I have known each other for some time.
Yeah.
And looking at even just in the last year or two, your evolution of what you've built, you have all those kind of really cool projects that you did back then, like even the clock. What would you call that thing? It's like a chain clock.
Yeah, the chain clock is, I guess, what I named it.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't following Steve, I'll put all his links in the show notes. And then also, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll try to get some pictures and splice it in here. So head over to the YouTube channel and watch this. But this chain clock that you came up with, what's the inspiration behind that?
I couldn't tell you where the inspiration came from. I've always been.
That means it's good.
Well, I couldn't tell you because I don't know. I've always been somebody who, I guess I'm more of a person who enjoys the journey and trying to figure something out and how to take an idea to reality. And I actually have a hard time when I figure out the final link in the piece in the puzzle. It's really hard to finish the project because I know, I made it work. So I had this idea for this clock where the numbers would be on plates, which are suspended by chains, and everything would roll. So movement, some noise, a lot of fun to watch. And so every minute, one of the chains rolls and the minute number changes. And then every 10 minutes, the 10-minute number changes. And then every hour, all three rotate in sequence. And I don't have it anymore. Somebody reached out and actually offered to buy it and made an offer that actually helped me buy my saw stop table saw. So so I thought I needed the saw stop and all my fingers more than I needed this clock. But when that clock would run, if you were in a room with that clock, every minute when it would rotate, anybody who hasn't been around it would just stop and look at it and wait 10 seconds for the number to change. It was hysterical, but you couldn't run it in a room with anybody in it because it was just too distracting.
It was loud, or was it just because of the novelty of it?
It's just the novelty of it. It's kind of like the marble track, just the movement and noise and something you haven't seen before. I think it really takes people, catches them off guard. And, it's just the funniest thing. People would ask to watch it, and you'd start talking, and about every 45 seconds when it would start rotating, they would just stop and like mid-sentence. It was just like somebody hit pause on them, and they would stop to watch this clock. But that was a fun build. It was 3 different gear motors that rotated with mechanical switches, just contact switches, and then 1 synchronous gear motor that actually was the timer for the whole thing. And another AutoCAD drawn product, from back in my early engineering days. And again, it was just something I thought, this would be really cool if I could pull this off. And it was very tight. It was a lot of wiring, a lot of DC wiring, and very heavy, very sturdy. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not a small clock.
It's not. It is not.
It was what, maybe about 15, 20 inches tall or something like that.
Yeah, I think with the longest chain that hung down, I think it was about 2.5 feet tall and probably a little over a foot wide and about 9 or 10 inches deep off the wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they can put those in doctor's offices and help the time pass, a little bit better.
Drive the receptionist crazy, but yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Ma'am, it's been at least 17 clicks since you've said I could go back.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if you sold that thing and you were able to buy a saw stop, I'm thinking you should build more of those.
The time involved, was very challenging. And I've got a few projects that every once in a while somebody will contact me and ask if they can buy it. And usually the offer is less than the price of materials. And they think shipping is going to be $10, to the other side of the country. Right. And so the chain clock was one of those. And finally, this very, very well off retired doctor reached out and he helped subsidize the saw stop. So that was an excellent arrangement.
That's nice. That's great. And then you, when I first started following you, I think one of the first projects that I saw was your drill storage holder. It's like an adjustable. You can adjust it for different thicknesses and heights, or not heights, but different thicknesses of drills and move things around or whatever. That's been a hit on Instagram, I think, as well, right? Yeah,
it's done really well. I've got plans for that as well, but it uses a couple Craig mini tracks, and the tool holders slide left and right in these Craig mini tracks. And so just with wing nuts, you can tighten up the tool holder where you want it. So if you get rid of a drill and you get a new one that's smaller and more compact, now you can slide the tool holders together and all of a sudden it fits again. So you don't have to just rely on a fixed width tool holder. And, you could put other things on there if you wanted to as well. You could put a little, French cleat in a section if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think, I see that come up every once in a while in the feed and whatever. And I'm like, I think I comment on it almost every time if I see it, I'll say something about like, gosh, I need to build one of those, or whatever. Yeah. And there's so many of your projects that I'm like, that are so inspiring to me. And then yet I'm like, well, I can't do better than that. So I'm just not even going to try. I'll just hire you to do it. Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you and I have talked about growth and channel growth and Instagram growth and stuff for a little bit. When did you start seeing like a path forward to the potential for working with brands and things like that? What was the inspiration for that?
I don't know the exact time, but I would say it was about a year and a half.
I want a specific date.
October 1st, 2021. It probably was about that time. It was about a year and a half ago. I started seeing a little growth as on Instagram, as a lot of people do. There'll be a growth spurt where all of a sudden, you're fairly flat or just kind of consistently growing little by little. And then all of a sudden you get this growth spurt where something takes off and all of a sudden you've got another 2,000 or 3,000 followers. And it was about a year and a half ago where I saw one of those growth spurts, and I thought, this, if this keeps happening, this will keep growing, and it's fun. It's a hobby that I really enjoy, and on top of it being that, it's become the place online where people like yourself and some other really good friends now connect on a daily basis with a lot of you guys. And, I guess a lot of us are out in our garages and our shops, working very independently all the time. And for the longest time, if I had a question, I'd have to turn to the internet. But now I can brainstorm with people like yourself and some other great people that are, just wickedly talented.
We're a bunch of loners doing life together.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And, I always thought it was funny when my kids were playing video games and talking to people online they'd never met in person before. And now
here I find myself. The internet.
Yeah. And that's how I met you, Matt.
Yeah. And we've come to know each other through the Surf Prep family, and
phenomenal family.
Yeah, great sponsors of this show.
Yeah,
and now you have out surf prepped me. You have more surf prep sanders than I do.
Oh, I didn't know if I did. So, okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. So I'll have to work on that. Yeah. Surf prep, if you're listening, we'll have to. Whatever Steve has, I want two of.
Exactly. But no, like I said, a year and a half ago, I started seeing some growth, and I reached out to initially to Bessie Tools was one of the big steps where I reached out to them and just asked if I could use their logo in a CNC project for the Bessie clamp racks on the cleat wall. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah. And would you like a few clamps? And they sent me a few clamps. And
yeah, when you sent me that picture of the clamps that they sent, I said, that's more than a few. How many clamp racks are you building here?
Yeah, I've got. It's pretty obnoxious when you really stand back and look at it. It's quite the commercial shop. Stand almost, just like a retail store display. Yeah. And, but no, they were so nice and accommodating. And I really saw that as a point where I'm like, wait a second, we can all work together on stuff. They get exposure. I get exposure. Right. I get a few things. They get different content. They get clamp racks that people can download and create themselves with their logo if they want to. And, at the same time, I was able to pull in, total boat epoxy into the clamp racks, mix all pigment, just a variety of stuff. And it was a video for Inventables, for the CNC, for the X-Carve. So, it's just a very intertwined community. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, you can really make some really cool stuff happen by people working together.
Right. So tell me about Inventables. I'm not incredibly in the know on that. I think it's specific to a certain machine, or it's for kind of everybody. Like, what's the Inventables pitch? Yeah.
So Inventables has their X-Carve, smaller, kind of hobbyist CNC that a lot of people in the maker space are familiar with. Then they also have a 4-foot by 4-foot pro model, and they've had that out, I think, for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And they also, the thing that I've been most involved with them in the past is the easel software, which will run their CNCs as well as some other ones on the market. But I'm up to this point, I've just been familiar with the X-Carve system.
Okay. And you had mentioned you had done a little bit of a teaser that you're looking at doing another CNC.
Yeah. So I've got a Onefinity Foreman Elite showing up hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think it'll ship. So
that's exciting. Very
excited for that, to have that new size capacity, the speed and precision capacity, and I've just been kind of like spinning, thinking about all the different things I want to do with that thing. And, I think a lot of people who went down to, say, Workbench Conference in Atlanta, I think a lot of people who saw the machines down there were instantly sold by the quality of the machines and what they have going with their equipment, but also with the leadership in the company and the people you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can tell the build quality is good. And I know the guys over at Sawdust Nation podcast, they're closely intertwined with PWN CNC, which does some like really cool upgrade type stuff for that machine specifically. So,
yep, I've got one of their spindles on order as well. So I'm excited to add that to the machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Good guys over there. Pretty much all of the vendors that we saw this year at Workbench Con were great.
Yep.
Great place to network. Did you get a lot of contact cards? when you were there?
I got a few. I got the ones I really wanted to get and strengthen the relationships with the people I wanted to from the previous year as well. So I thought it was a very good trip for me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and you've done other collaborations. I mean, we could go down the laundry list of brands you've been kind of working with, but you do a good job at presenting their product, and I think that's what makes you stand out. You know,
thanks.
You talk through it. Me, I just kind of usually just do a video, like a music overlay or something like that. Mm-hmm. but you really kind of talk about all the different aspects of, whether that's Taylor Tools, and working with them and talking about their tools, whether that's Bessie. You have a different style, different flair. I think that attracts brands because you present well.
Yeah, and I think like most of us, I try to put out information that I'd want to see, and I'm a very detailed person, having kind of the engineering background, and I want specifics. I want to know details and speeds.
You're not the artist like I am.
You're so artsy.
I'm like editing to the beat, and you're like, no, it's gotta fit. Let me talk about the specifics.
Yeah. No, it's just it's fun. I really like getting into the details, and unfortunately on an Instagram reel, there's just never enough time to put as much into it as I'd like. Right.
That's where the long form stuff is, right?
Exactly.
The YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. So you do stuff for Inventables. You do videos and plans and all that kind of stuff. How many different plans or videos would you say that you've done?
I think for them I've got 7 or 8. I've been working on videos for them for the last couple of years, quarterly videos, and on their website you can look me up at Making It Home. And you can find all the projects I've got in there, and you can go to their site and download those on their easel software, so you can make those yourself. Yeah,
I'll make sure to put all those all your links in the show notes. You got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instructables, and your website.
Yep.
Tell me about TikTok. I'm not a huge TikToker.
It's a train wreck,
as you know, because you're a patron of this show. I should share that as well. Mm-hmm. So thank you for being a patron of this show. So you know that I'm not a big TikToker. Is it mostly reposts of your Instagram type content, or
it's pretty much the exact same thing I put on Instagram goes on TikTok, and crazy enough, in the last couple of days they both hit 30,000 followers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, almost at the exact same time.
That's great.
TikTok just doesn't have the community like Instagram does, from I think what most people have seen. And when I got involved with the online communities, I wanted it to be a place where I could learn or help other people, because we all struggled in the past with things and trying to learn something we've never done. And so Instagram is just much more of a neutral to friendly place compared to, say, TikTok or Facebook, God forbid.
Right. Yeah. How's the engagement is probably, I mean, is there commenting that's happening? Like, are you engaging with people on TikTok, or is it more just like likes?
I do try to reply. I do try to reply to people that have, real questions or want to put some input into the post. But there's a lot of comments on TikTok that don't make sense, or it's
haters.
Few haters on there. There's people, you know what it's like. I mean, a lot of people trying to sell you diet supplements, and things like that. And my automobile warranty has expired, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's that kind of comment.
I could use a few of those diet supplements, though. Maybe I should go back to TikTok.
Yeah.
How do you deal with hater comments?
Most of the time I don't say much, because at least on Instagram, most people will kind of stand up for you anyway, for the people that are being rude and mean. And usually the people that are being rude and mean are people that don't post anything themselves. They have a private account. They're just out to try to burn somebody. And I don't let it bother me because there's 100 other people for that one negative that are
Right.
enjoying the content and giving you good feedback or throwing in alternate ways to do what I was posting about, which I get excited about.
Yeah. We talked a little bit in the pre-show portion about so this is Mental Health Month, and talked briefly about the last episode and burnout and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you curious? How do you deal with burnout? Oh
man, that's tough because I think anybody who's been doing this for more than a few months, trying to actively make something grow, it's very easy to get just really negative on it. When you don't see any growth, or you put in more effort and you get negative follower counts per day, and you don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
But I try to just keep looking at things, in the long term. And, I've been active for, say 3 years, really the last year and a half, really pushing hard. And, looking at the growth over 3 years, I'm pretty happy with it. Of course, a lot of people for the last 6 to 8 months were very flat in their growth, and that I think that's been hard on a lot of people with different changes. And luckily I had a recent follower growth spurt, so that was positive for me. But I could shut off tomorrow as well, and just try to look at it in the long term. I think everybody who's trying to make something happen on here is doing it long term and plan on it being long term. So you just got to look at it that way, and just know that some of the reels you put 30 seconds into may be one of your best reels, and something you put in a couple days worth may get 100 views. You just never know.
Yeah.
So
Yep. It's the wild, wild west.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
What's your content strategy? Are you doing things and planning out your posts a couple days in advance or the night before, or do you have a strategy that you follow?
Yeah, in the last 3 or 4 months, I started trying to plan a couple days in advance, so I knew it was coming out. I do have a few posts from time to time that have to be posted on certain days, so fill those in, and then I try to write
Thursday.
Yeah, once in a while I do Throwback Thursday.
Way back Wednesday, Flashback Friday.
Yep, exactly.
Use all of those.
Yeah. And I do try to write out all my my descriptions and hashtags the night before, so I can just copy and paste those in the morning when I get up and get ready for work. So it's as quick and easy as possible, and it also helps me not have typos and misspellings or incorrect tags on different accounts if I'm tagging somebody else's account. But I do try to go.
What's your process for that? Putting it into notes and then saving it there, or saving it as drafts? Yeah,
as simple as it is, I in my Gmail account, I write a draft email, and I put the title. The subject line is the title of the post. And then if I want to, I keep all those drafts in my email. And then if I ever want to go back, I can go back and pull, tags out of those or content out. I can see roughly when it was posted if I haven't modified it in any way. And then I pull it up on my phone, open the draft, select all, copy, paste into Instagram. And
yeah, that's smart because then you can just do a search through your email as opposed to like keeping a document or notes section or something like that.
Yeah. And then if I want to, I can search that draft folder and see, the last time I posted about, say, surf prep or, Bessie tools, and think, well, I should probably get something out for those guys. They've been very good to me. So it's time for another post for them.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a good brand strategy. So do you keep a note on all of those posts, or like when you've made that particular?
I started to last fall. I was trying to keep a very extensive spreadsheet, and it just got a little overwhelming. And that was about the same time everything had been flat for a few months. And so I started that, and then I thought, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep this up long term.
Right.
And so I just need to focus on the people I'm working with, the stuff I'm excited about, and I think it's helped.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me, when I would go out there on, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, shoot a bunch of stuff, and then know what I was going to post for the week. And sometimes I'd get, a week and a half or 2 weeks worth of content ready to go, locked and loaded. But then it was like holidays were coming up. It was birthdays and this and that.
Yeah.
And then, I had done it for so long, for like over a year, posting every day.
Yeah.
And then at some point the wheels came off and I was like, okay, I think this is my time to take a break. And I took that break, and then now it's like, I think I'm negative like 400 or 500 followers since not posting consistently. So that consistent posting definitely has its rewards, as you're seeing, as evident in, TikTok and Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you got to weigh like how much that's going to, weigh on you.
Oh,
but I think
definitely.
like what you do is you can pull out, and who did I talk to? I talked to somebody else about repurposing content, because on Instagram, your audience is so fresh every month, basically. I mean, you essentially couldn't repurpose posts that you did 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Right. And you can always take a music post and just do an audio dub, speaking over it, with a description or a process description.
Right.
And when you post, I don't know about your numbers, but most of the time when I post, it's not like 95% of my followers at the time see it. It's
right.
5-10%, sometimes pretty low.
Yeah.
And so everybody else is not a follower. And I assume the next time it's the same way, and they may have never seen my content before anyway.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the thing about that algorithm that was a misunderstanding for me. I was thinking it was, a lot of the same people seeing my posts. Yeah. So that's why I was constantly trying to come up with something new. But then I was seeing growth on other channels where it wasn't something new. I remember when the Reels bonuses came out, everybody was posting their viral content. They're like, I made the Reels bonus. So they post something that was something that was viral before. And so I would see that and I would think that everybody was seeing that if I did it. So I didn't do that strategy, but it clearly works because, like you said, 5 or 10% of the people, 5 or 10% of the people are going to see it, but then the rest of the growth is coming from all of this algorithm change and that new influx of new followers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and a lot, it's hit and miss on where the followers are coming from too. And with my account here recently, I'm getting a lot of people that are subscribing at 2 or 3 in the morning my time here, Central Time, and so they're certainly probably out of the United States,
right?
And
so when I saw my huge growth spike, it was definitely you'd wake up and it was like, oh wow,
what happened?
At one point it was like 800 or 900 followers a day there for a little bit.
Yeah,
it was crazy. In fact, I had one hater who posted stories about my growth, which he later denied that it wasn't my page. He blacked out my name. But I took his story and I was like, dude, why are you hating? I was like, I'm not controlling who's following me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And he was like saying, like in the posts, the stories that he was doing, he was like, oh, these are all foreign followers, and he was like claiming that I was buying followers and stuff like that. And I'm like, have you seen the numbers on the post that is getting me all this traction? It's like 1 million, 1.5 million. Like you could clearly see what was attributing to that growth.
Yeah.
But you're going to have those haters. I got pissed off and blocked them, but
yeah, exactly.
That's all right.
That's the thing to do.
Yeah. If you're listening, I'm over it now.
Moving on.
Yeah. Moved on.
Yeah.
So speaking of challenging things,
Yeah.
what has been your most challenging build that you've done in the last, let's say in the last 5 years?
Wow. In the last 5 years, I think the hardest one or most challenging one was the arcade I made last year for the Maker Collab Challenge. I was in that with Nick Brim. We did an arcade themed project. He made an arcade stool, and I made a cocktail arcade table. And it's currently disassembled because I'm putting light up buttons in it. And
Never be done building, right?
never. But that one has linear actuators that actually lower the control panels with the joysticks and the buttons, and everything had to be very, very tight to go together and look like it was. I guess when the control panels are up and the arcade monitor is off, it just looks like a black pub table. And so when it's all up and you can't see the joysticks, it had to be fairly tight against the legs. And, it was like a 1/16 of an inch gap between the control panel and the legs on all the sides. And so, and trying to make that move on top of it and stop at the same point, that was pretty challenging, just trying to get things to fit and, very hard to assemble. Everything went together really well upside down, but then you got to flip it over right side up, and then some stuff will shift, and that was a very challenging one. In respect to all the components and wiring and just how tight everything was and movements.
Are you doing the programming and stuff too? Is it like Raspberry Pi or something like that? Are you doing any of that kind of stuff? Or
on that one, it's just a standalone arcade board. So. It has like 60 different classic arcade games, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Dig Dug. And basically you hook it into a wiring harness, wire up all the buttons, and it all goes together really well. Hook it to it's actually just I think a 32-inch flat screen TV that you get at Walmart, and it just works. I have done a little bit of Arduino programming, but it's been quite a few years for that, and I only did a few projects. Yeah.
Well, now you can just use AI to do all your programming for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
Man, the things we can do now that we couldn't do. Like, even I could program. I've never programmed a day in my life.
Yeah, and everybody thought Alexa was amazing when it came out, right?
Right. She's listening right now. Don't say it. One time I was in the middle of a podcast and I said the name, and then all of a sudden she starts hammering in my ear. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. So what's the future of making at home? Like, what are your big plans?
Well, I guess in the short term, I'm getting this new Onefinity machine, and some of the first projects are going to be some larger scale topographic carvings, and I've got some things in mind with how we might put a twist on those. I've been talking to Stone over at Onefinity a little bit about that, and then with the X carve I have now, I'm limited to about 30 inches by 30 inches, and it takes just way too long to do something like that on that machine. So excited to have that larger capacity and much faster speed to be able to carve something like that out. Possibly turning something, a product out that could be the start of a business. Hopefully I'll be coming out with some information on that in the next 6 to 8 months. And then might have another arcade project coming up in the next year. Instead of across the arcade monitor from each other with the cocktail style, this would be a side-by-side kind of a
cool
hidden TV cabinet type arcade game, but more linear actuators and movement and fun stuff like that. That's one that's kind of on my bucket list of projects, but I haven't started putting it together yet or cutting parts out yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, 200 hours worth of design time, and you'll have it done in no time.
Yeah. No, we won't be doing too many long projects like that anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm much faster now too. So that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Much faster with CNC and laser and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So which do you prefer? Are you more team CNC or team laser?
Ooh, I think I am heavily weighted to the CNC side just because I like working with wood products and the feel of it. Even the topographic maps, 3D carved map with like the ones I made out of skateboard veneer, being able to see it, see the texture, feel it. I just think it has much more for the senses, where the laser is more 2D, and it definitely has its place. I've got a fiber laser and a diode laser, so I'm definitely team laser as well. But I am more on the CNC side just because I think it's got more flexibility, and just prefer the products you can create with the CNC.
And before we get hater emails and comments, because I did a YouTube video that was CNC versus laser, and had people commenting on there, a laser is technically a CNC, and like, a lathe is technically a CNC. I'm like, yeah, I know, but we're talking like common nomenclature,
right?
People, like, don't be
tissue versus Kleenex, right?
Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Yeah. We all know what we're talking about.
Just so many negative comments about that kind of stuff. Like, oh, that's fine. I'll take the engagement.
Yeah. I think we all know what we're talking about. And they both, the woodworking CNCs or metalworking CNCs versus the laser cutters, or the fiber laser engravers. And they've all come so far in the last few years. 15 years ago, when I really started getting more and more into woodworking, I never would have guessed that I'd be able to have a 4x4 CNC in my garage.
Right.
Or let alone I'd be able to put it together myself, which, hopefully in a week or two, I'll be starting on that.
Yeah. Don't let it gather dust, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I had this, on that video, one of the comments the guy was saying is like about how a CNC doesn't do 3D. A CNC does 2D. And I'm like, no, pretty sure it does 3D, as is called in the Vectric files. So we got to, and he went on this whole like rant about, it's just 2D. And I'm like, no, it's 3D. I said, but there's also 4 and 5D if you want to add the different axes, and was like trying to argue with the village. Well, I don't want to be negative about it, but
right.
Anyway,
but I mean, you can. I don't know how many axes you got to talk to Nick Birchtold about that stuff to.
Oh man, that guy is doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, so inspiring.
Like, when does he do this kind of stuff? Because he's like cranking out this like next level stuff. Like, not even next level stuff. This is like 10 levels. Kind of stuff that he's doing.
Amazing stuff. And on top of it, he's just a heck of a good guy, right? I mean, just a phenomenal person on top of it, and so willing to help and share and brainstorm with you. And I met him the first time at Workbench Con, and I can't say enough good things about him.
Well, and also the post that you made with your saw stop handle that he made has done pretty well.
It's ridiculous.
Who would have ever thought?
Yeah. My wife, I won't say she was thrilled that I was putting that on my table saw or posting it, but it's art, people.
I'm not going to elaborate. You can elaborate on this if you want to for the audience. Well, on what we're talking about.
You'll have to put a link for Nick in the show notes as well, because people need to see what he does, and once you see, you'll understand. But he makes these handles for saw stop fences, and they have some anatomy on them, and they're just funny. And let's face
they're very supple.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's,
if you're looking for some D level work, he's your guy.
Right. But and I think the whole community, he's a prime example of somebody who, most people will never necessarily get to that skill level that he has because he's been doing what he's doing for years. And he does a lot of it on the architectural side professionally. But man, do I appreciate what he's perfected and what he can do. And, it's very inspiring for me and a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, when you see him enter one of these, like the Makers Challenge Central or the Maker Collab, whatever, you're like, I don't think I need. I need to participate anymore.
I'm out.
Yeah, he wins.
Yep.
I'll take second place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Phenomenal stuff. Well, you're right up there with them. You're doing some incredible stuff over on your channel. So I'll make sure to put all that stuff in the show notes. Mm-hmm. I want to say a thank you to all of our patrons like you. So thank you for supporting the show. And thank you to Surf Prep for sponsoring this episode. I wanted to give a shout out to our Rockstar patrons, Jimmy McAnally, Artigiano Serio, Wimm Design, Calvary Customs LLC, Cleancut Woodworking, Bailey Thompson, Dave Garcia, Broken Lead Woodworks, Starks Lagoon, Sawyer Design, Kodama Design, Dylan Furniture, Shock the Fox. Mr. Steve Moseley, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, man.
You know, I used to do it where people had to dance when I was doing the music portion of it.
You don't want to see that.